Hello, my beautiful beings. How you all doing today? Well, I hope. So, I want to talk about love today. Okay? And I don't mean love in like the romantic, gushy, all that good stuff. I'm talking about like love in its true nature. Okay? So, one of the things that I want to mention is love. So, from I want to say maybe like an immature state of mind, I thought like love was this fairy tale, right? Um, I thought love took all of the bad things away. Like nothing bad ever happened when you actually like have love, love, all that good stuff, right? And so as I'm maturing, as I'm maturing in the connections that I have with people in general when it comes to family, friends, all that good stuff, I'm noticing that love hurts. Like love really hurts. And it I was just posting a picture on my Instagram um of my family. And that's so crazy because that was okay. That was a emergency alert, right? So, um interesting. Okay. So, while I was having these thoughts while I was getting ready to go somewhere that was for me. It was going to be a me moment, okay? So yesterday I was out with my family. Now, storms, tornadoes, this is the weather for it, right? It's high, it's cold, it's a mixture of things. And so this is actually the weather for it. But it's interesting to me of what I've been experiencing through this season, right? Um and so I was out with my brother yesterday. And okay, so the picture. First and foremost, the picture. It was a picture of me and my family, right? Mom, dad, brother, and his daughter. And I was just thinking, like, this picture is so funny because if you look at the picture, we look like we we close knit, which we we not close knit. Like there's some friction, right? There's this hot and coldness to all of the relationships between me and my core family. And I just thought how like when you see a picture, it really captures a moment in time, right? And you don't really see what happened before, you don't really see what happened after. So it could be like it's up for interpretation, right? When you put your art out there, anybody can take it how they see it, right? And I thought about the picture of the Last Supper and how in that moment in time you saw everybody after there was a statement made, you saw everybody's reaction to it. And I just thought that picture was so funny. Like I thought that picture was so funny because looks can be deceiving. Like looks can really be deceiving. And I had this thing when I first started my channel, I said that I was going to be I was being called to be vulnerable and transparent about my process and about my journey as I was on my healing journey, because it's actually when I first started. And one of the core things that I thought when I was like going through this process of like being vulnerable, being transparent, was how we don't see that process with Jesus Christ himself. We don't see how he became who he is, right? And so I started my channel, I made my couple of videos, and y'all, I went through hell. Okay, I went through hell. Now, when I first started, my intentions were purely and solely to create a foundation in a sacred place, a sacred space for me, right? A foundation for myself that I can always come back to. Like I can always be okay. And at the time, I really didn't even understand why I was doing it. I just know that I wanted to be more connected with myself. And that's funny, right? So I went through like this whole journey season, outstretched, right? Outstretched season of just like going through it. And me being true to my word of being like vulnerable and transparent, I wasn't up for it. Like, I was ready to talk and I was recording videos at the time of me going through it, but there was a voice in my head that stopped me in regards to like, well, what will they say? They're gonna judge you. And so a lot of that came up and I kind of stopped myself, right? And so just going throughout the process, back and forth in my head, being called to do a certain thing, but like getting in my own way with my own thoughts and stuff like that. And now that I'm here, I'm understanding that that was preparation, right? That was preparation. There are certain things that I've experienced through the last few years that I haven't told another soul at all. Um, and like, I had this dream one time that it was something like heavy on the chest, but there was like fear behind it. And it had something to do with like holding something close to the chest, and it was out of fear. And I realize now that that was me speaking my truth, right? And so even in the midst of going back to that picture of me and my family and like all the things that we have experienced or I've experienced over the last few years, I noticed something about myself when it comes to capacity and forgiveness, and the capacity that I have to forgive others. Now, forgiving myself is a whole nother situation, which brings me back to love, right? And so, love, like, I know I have this capacity to forgive and to love, and even though I have my emotions, right? um, I tend to analyze them a lot, right? As opposed to just feeling them. Um, and that's something else in itself in regards to being my authentic self and like my close knit people and how they responded to it. And the idea of being judged, right? Um, and so that played a big part in how the people closest to me responded to me in regards to like, well, how are people that don't know you gonna respond? If they're saying this, how are others gonna, perceive you? Right? And so just going through that process of like, I think I had to accept it for myself with people that I really care about in regards to like, okay, well, if you put yourself out there, who cares? Right? Who cares what they say? Who cares what they think? And so I understand that a lot that I experienced over the past few years have been preparation, right? For whatever this calling is, on my need to like speak up, on my need to say what's on my heart. Um, and so love, right? Love, love, love. I think before I came into awareness of like wanting better for myself when it came to the relationships that I'm in and just like feeling like I deserved more and expressing that I wanted more, requesting um where I wanted people to meet me. Um I think that goes in with like that fantasy fairy tale. And not to say that you can't have it, right? Not to say that I can't have the love that I know that I am, because I exist, right? But also understanding like somebody that will meet me there in regards to like us being human and going through the ups and downs. And it's crazy because I've always thought about like marriage, right? And just I realized what God has been doing in regards to my expectations and my standards and the reality of things, right? Because had He given me what I wanted at the time that I wanted it, I would have not been prepared for it, right? And so this is not to say that I'll withstand like toxic love or anything like that, because we have been through those motions. Okay. We've been through those motions. Um, and that's what I mean by like, I kind of have a grasp on my capacity now. And I think that maybe just with the ebbs and flows of life itself and understanding like I don't have to put up with certain things, right? I don't have to deal with certain things when I truly do love somebody or they truly do love me. I think I know what to expect when it comes to meeting somebody halfway, right? And then meeting me halfway. And so yeah, talking about like love and all that good stuff. Thinking about union and first starting with myself and the moments that I have with myself, knowing that I do love myself, but taking certain actions that aligns with those things. Taking certain action that aligns with the value of who I know I am, right? That's all a work in process. And so when it comes to relationships with friends, family, lovers, all that good thing, all that good stuff, I realize that there's uh there's grace that you have to have with somebody, and I'm learning this through having grace with myself, because I cannot stress enough of, and I thought about this earlier, of like how on an emotional level, like our spirit, our intuition tells us what it is that we want. Like those emotions let us know how we feel about a certain thing, but like the the action or the willpower, shall I say, that we have to have when it comes to truly aligning with it, right? When it comes to setting certain boundaries, when it comes to uh, cutting people off when you need to cut them off after you've shown grace, um, and all of that good stuff. Even when it comes to myself, of like, okay, how much space do I need to hold for myself when it comes to understanding what it is that I want and where I'm at, right? And that space in between of like evolving into that and noticing how I can get in my own way when it comes to meeting myself there, right? And so in reflection of that, right? and going through the process of like healing, I talk about, so the dark night of the soul, right, is when you go through like this whole spiritual awakening, where you realize some of the things that you thought, some of the things that you feel, they aren't actually aligned with who you truly are as a being, right? And so there were so many different things that I was okay with before I wanted to better myself, right? There were so many things that I was okay with, like that was enough before I knew better, right? And so just coming to this conclusion, like when it comes to my family and things like that, and understanding who they were to me when I was one version of myself and who they are to me now, right? And when I say who they are, I mean as far as like the identity that they hold of themselves, right? Having certain conversations with my family members and understanding their beliefs, understanding their values, and understanding that how somehow we just don't align. Okay, I don't think let's agree to disagree. Okay, let's agree to disagree. And so being able to hold that space, have that grace, and have the capacity of like, I love you anyways, right? Even though we don't share the same beliefs, even though we don't have the same values, still being able to hold that space when it comes to love, but also having this willpower within myself of knowing like this is where the separation is. Like, although like, yeah, one love, all that good stuff, but I still feel like even though we can coexist, right? Even though there's a balance, a harmony that could be had between us. It's about understanding the boundaries, right? Understanding a different individual and how they are, and where you cross your line with yourself, right? And I mean that on an emotional level. Okay? I can't tell you how many times that I've thought that, oh, if I just say this to somebody, they'll change. Or, oh, if we just get this out on the table, they'll change. And the change never happens. And it's like learning to accept people for who they are and loving them anyways, right? But doing what you need to do for yourself. And I feel like this is where that self love kind of comes in at, and like understanding, okay, this is where I am, this is where I need to be. Um, and just accepting them for who they are, but also honoring myself at the end of the day, right? And so I've learned to just like be at peace with people, know how to go so far with individuals. They say a sin